Hey guys, I'm going to give it just a second. Just cleaning up my dishes from dinner. That should be long enough. So this month I have been posting Facebook Live videos about autism awareness. It is the end of the day, which is why I'm not as fabulous looking as I'd like to be, but that's okay. That's not important. I wanted to share with you guys. So I've been talking to you about the beginning of our journey with autism. I have been talking to you about signs of autism. I have talked to you a little bit about our experiences. If you've missed those videos, they are on my Facebook wall. Please feel free to go back and look at them. I also have a blog. It is not entirely focused on autism, but that is one category of it. I will put the link below, but it is letshealthyup.com. Pretty simple. So today I want to talk about how is autism diagnosed, and I have a couple notes here that I have written down. So it's important to know that right now, the date of this video, there is no medical test that can be done that is going to say your child has autism. That means there's no blood test, there's no scan, there's nothing like that. Autism is something that we really don't understand a lot about yet. I am so hopeful that as time goes on, we will learn more and more, but at this point, we don't know a ton, and diagnostically speaking, there are other ways that it is determined, but it is not determined medically. It is diagnosed by trained physicians and psychologists, psychiatrists who administer autism-specific behavioral kind of assessments. Often parents are the first ones to notice. I've talked about that a lot in the video about our journey. You're the first to notice that something might seem off or a little bit different than your other kids, or if you're like me and it's your firstborn, there's just something in your mommy instinct that's saying, or your daddy instinct that's saying, something doesn't seem quite like I think that it should be. So real simply, I made a video about signs of autism, but real simply, if your child's failing to make eye contact, has communication problems, is not responding to their name, plays with toys in unusual or repetitive ways, then that can be an indicator of autism. That does not mean that your child has autism, but it can be an indicator. So there is actually, and I'm going to post the link below to my blog, and I have it in there where you can go and take an assessment. It's called the MCHAT, and that stands for Modified Checklist of Autism in Toddlers. So this is going to be geared more towards like ages 12 months to maybe getting close to 3. And it's a list of informative questions about your child. This is not a diagnostic tool. This is not something that you're going to take and they're going to say, yes, your child has autism, or no. It's more like a risk factor. So they'll give you a number, a risk factor for autism based on those, the questions and the score that you got. And it may be a low risk where it's probably nothing to be too concerned about, or a higher risk where they think, yes, I think you should reach out to your doctor. Let me tell you that even with this MCHAT, the questions that are on there, even if it says you have a low risk, if you still have a gut instinct that your child may have something going on, go to the doctor. Don't just rely on this. I will put the link below after this video ends, but it is a good kind of starting point, and they ask a lot of like fine and gross motor questions because a lot of kids with autism are globally delayed. It's just so important as parents that you trust your instinct above all. I really feel like we know as parents if there's something that's off with our kids, and you need to have confidence in yourself because unfortunately, there are doctors out there who are not super knowledgeable about autism, especially when it comes to diagnosing it. Sometimes they will dismiss your concerns. This is what happened to me. If you caught the live video about our journey, I started having concerns about 12 months, and it was almost a full year later before those concerns were taken seriously. I was told point blank several times, he does not have autism, by people who really didn't know what they're talking about. I didn't know that at the time, but now looking back, some of the reasons they gave a lot of stereotypes. Well, he's very friendly, he's got good eye contact. Yes, poor eye contact can be a sign of autism, but it doesn't mean that they have it necessarily. And well, you guys know how that story went. It is really important though that you keep pushing, because one of the worst things you can do for a child that is on the spectrum is nothing. If you have a doctor who is saying, I think you might be on the spectrum, I think your child might be on the spectrum, but let's wait a few years and see. That is not okay. I was talking to a friend recently who had that experience, and I told her, if that was your experience, you need to walk. You need to run. Do not walk. You need to run from that doctor. Because if your child is anywhere on the spectrum, there are things that can help them, and we all want our children to succeed and be successful and happy and, be growing as little people. And doing nothing is doing them such a disservice. This is another reason why reaching out to qualified doctors for a diagnosis or to find out that this is not autism is so important, because a lot of times insurance companies are one of my hot topic buttons, because unfortunately is a big part of my life. They do not like to pay for therapy without a diagnosis of some sort. Now, that doesn't even necessarily mean that you're going to have an autism diagnosis. It could just be your child needs help with some fine motor skills. Maybe they need some PT for a low muscle tone, or some occupational therapy. And a lot of times you need to get a diagnosis, whatever that diagnosis may be, before insurance companies want to help you out. It is very, very important that your child be screened from birth to 36 months for these developmental progress milestones. Every major checkup or well visit, they should be asking you, what are they doing? What kind of milestones? Asking you questions so that you know that your child is on track. When a screening, or you have your own concerns, so whether it's your concerns or a screening tool that was done, raises concern about a child's development, your pediatrician or your general practitioner or whoever your family might see should refer the child to a specialist. So that could be a developmental pediatrician, a psychologist, psychiatrist, something like that. Now, in the case of autism, if autism is suspected, you should be referred to a developmental evaluation by a developmental pediatrician or psychologist, psychiatrist. The other things that you can expect is to get a hearing test. A lot of the lack of eye contact and lack of giving you attention when you call their name, that can be, hearing can be the culprit. So it's so important to just cross that off your list or explore it further if hearing is an issue. Other things they may do is a lead exposure test, and then autism specific screenings such as the MCHAT like we talked about. There are similar screening tools like the MCHAT for older children and adults. I can point you in that direction if you have any questions or you know somebody who does. So a typical diagnostic evaluation. So the developmental pediatrician is kind of on the same page. They're thinking it might be a spectrum. They're thinking it might be autism. So what they're going to do is they're going to get a team of people. So you're going to see a pediatrician, a psychologist, speech and language people, and occupational therapists. And they're all going to, it's mostly going to be evaluations as far as seeing them play, interaction, asking the child questions. When Liam had his, it was over a couple days, and they would ask him questions. Now, he was mostly nonverbal at that point, but they could also ask him questions to see if he was comprehending what they were asking. They would play with him. They would give him certain toys and see what he would do with those toys, try to interact with him. So it's really kind of a painless evaluation. Obviously, the diagnosis and the emotions behind all of that is not painless. Can you see them if you're regularly being worried, but your gut says you should have them looked at? It depends on your insurance, Jordan, but every state has something called early steps. And you can reach out to them and say, look, I've talked to my pediatrician. They really aren't taking my concerns seriously. I would like to have someone evaluate him. You may be able to just go straight to a developmental pediatrician. Some insurances require a referral and some don't. But you could call up your insurance company definitely and ask them. That's a good question. Let's see, what else? They may also suggest genetic testing. Now, I said earlier when I first started this that there's no autism test, and there's not. There are some genes that they're looking at that are correlated with autism, but the other blood work that they might do is actually in reference to other medical conditions that can sometimes accompany autism. So that could be sleep issues, that could be gut health issues, that could be allergies, that could be seizure disorders, stuff like that. Those are things that, again, if you have those, it does not mean that you are autistic, but in a lot of kids, those types of medical concerns accompany a diagnosis. So when you are being screened for a diagnosis, these are the type of tests they might do also. Did I have anything else? Sometimes autism is diagnosed later in life. We are hearing of more and more adults who are being diagnosed as on the spectrum, and they were not as children. And it's really unfortunate because there's so many tools available and therapies, and sometimes, you know, people just kind of fall between the cracks. Or parents aren't aware. That's why I'm so passionate about really getting to know other special needs families and sharing with them. And I like to share our everything with autism with people, because I really hope that there could be, you know, someday there would be somebody that I could help, and that had no idea, or, you know, felt lost. And so it's really important that that people just understand what autism is. It's so important to me that they understand what autism is, that